everyone. You're watching Build Series in New York City. I'm Laura Muraski from HuffPost with our next guest. Singer-songwriter Matt Costa has been making music for some 15 years, releasing his debut EP back in 2003. The California native returns today with Santa Rosa Fangs, his first new full-length album in 5 years. We're going to sit down and have a nice little chat here, but before we do, here's Matt's new single, Sharon.
She's going out tonight. See her aquarium friends. Almost the buffaloes in the bogarts. She's strung out again. She knows not what she does. She knows not what she feels. She don't know if she's living or dying. Her bucket's full of pills. She's colder than the coast of Maine on a snowy winter's day. I should cut you like she cut me. I'd send you raging on the sea. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. Sharon, Sharon. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. Changes. Oh, I know you're going through those changes. Yeah, I know you're going through those changes. Go, go, go and steal your daddy pays your rent. She knows not what she does. She knows not how she feels. She don't know if she's living or dying. Her bucket's full of pills. She's colder than the coast of Maine on a snowy winter's day. I should cut you like she cut me. I'd send you raging on the sea. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon. Sharon, Sharon. Sharon, Sharon, Sharon.
Please welcome Matt Costa.
Hello.
Matt, thank you so much for coming by Build today.
Thanks for having me.
I saw you smirk a little bit while watching the video that we just saw for Sharon, and at the end there, what made you smile a little bit?
Oh, because it was fun. It was fun to do that.
Was it fun to make that video?
Yeah, it was fun. We went to this place called Sip and Dip in Great Falls, Montana, and I had just kind of researched and found out about this place. And so I had this wild idea to go there and shoot the music video, and I didn't think it was actually going to come together, but it did. And so went there, and I was going to go like the day after I found out about it, but I figured I'd make a little more plans to get it done right. So we had an actual mermaid. They're hard to find. And so
and it all worked out.
And it all worked out. It was
did.
really fun.
Well, Sharon is on the your new album out today, by the way. Congratulations! And
Thanks.
I've had an early copy of it for the last couple of days, and I've had it on repeat a little bit because it's one of those albums that you want to listen to from start to finish. Really, was that something that you wanted to? Did you set out to do that, to kind of tell a story, a concept album?
Yeah. Well, I did. I've been making records for, I don't know, 15 years or so, and so it's kind of somewhat of a long time to make records. And so when I first started making records, I feel by my own limitations and things, you kind of narrow them down just by default, by your own experience and things. But as you grow and get more experience and learn more tricks and learn all the other stuff, they can get really, you can get really vast ideas. And so in the 5 years leading up to this record, I had done like some EPs that were all more focused, and also a soundtrack to, or a score for a film, a couple films, but one main score for a film called Orange Sunshine, which was a cool documentary. And so all that led into making like different themes and characters that was more of like a film that I was scoring that never existed. And so it became the Santa Rosa Fangs. And then these are people that are within the story.
In the characters, Sharon being one of them.
Yeah, Sharon. That's Sharon right there.
And the Richie is another person.
This is Richie right here.
And there's a third character.
This is Tony right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know Richie is a pretty personal song to you because there's a person in your life, right? It was a cousin of yours.
Yeah. It's kind of a sad story.
Yeah, you're like, we're not going to go there.
We don't have to go there. We can. Yeah, they're actually. Yeah, it's close to my whole family, but they were twin brothers, and from on my father's side, who had passed away from a year within each other. Early on in the 80s when I was a kid, and so it affected our whole family. And so, but their father, my uncle, who's also named Tony, his name came from, was like the biggest influence on my music growth and all that. He would give me all the records to learn, and so I figured, once like writing that song and putting their story into it, and all the influence that he'd given me throughout the years and into that song, was like the best way to pay tribute to their legacy, their lives, short lives.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. What were some of those records that your uncle rather,
Oh yeah,
to you early on?
my dad gave me some records
Yeah.
too, but I feel like, no offense to my dad, but they weren't as cool as the ones that my uncle gave me, because my uncle gave my dad all of the cool ones too. But yeah, they're just sort of classic, classic stuff. But I was listening to like just some Django Reinhardt, some guitar playing stuff. And someone told me about that stuff, and also a lot of like the Flying Burrito Brothers, and then also a lot of British folk stuff that I got into. And let's see, what else is on there? A lot of the Love.
Yeah, Love.
He was from, they grew up in the 60s and stuff like that, so they kind of turned me on to all that. And then there was some, what else was on there? I don't know. Well, it goes on. I could list like lots and lots and lots of stuff. I made some playlists that are on the internet and has a bunch of the songs on there that he showed me.
Where could we find that?
On the internet.
On the internet, somewhere on the internet.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Click around there. Yeah.
Do you feel like there was one album in particular that really inspired Santa Rosa Fangs?
One album in particular. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to get so breathy. I don't know. There's so much. I wouldn't say one record in particular is the thing that made me want to make this record, but I do know that like something about the record Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen. It's kind of like a mood that it's not like sonically the same, but there's a mood that whole record has where it's a place, and it feels like his stories have some have similar elements that I like to capture. I don't think it's musically at all the same type of thing, but there's a feeling that I got from that record that I've always liked, and so that's why I sort of. The cover is black and white. It's sort of an homage to that record.
That's cool. I love that record, Nebraska. It's
Yes,
so good. I mean,
yeah.
it's just him, and he just like kind of recorded it.
On a 4-track.
Yeah, exactly. It's so raw and.
Yeah, I like that raw quality.
Yeah.
This
one's not so much.
There's some rawness to it. I mean, I recorded some of it at my house.
Yeah.
A lot. I would say like 70% of it at my house, and so, I do have a 4-track at my house, and I wrote some of the songs on a 4-track, but then I wanted to add more than 4 tracks to a couple songs, so then I had to do it another way.
All right. How long did the process take for this?
How long did it take? I don't know. 35 years.
Which is how old you are.
Yeah.
You spent your whole life waiting for this album.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're most proud of this one out of all the records you've made?
Right now I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to you in a couple of years when you put out the next one. That'll be the best.
There you go. Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
You're as good as your last record.
Yeah.
Do you feel like relieved? Today's the release day. Do you
It
feel
is,
like,
I know,
Yeah.
huh?
Do you feel like, oh my goodness, it's out there now? Everybody can hear.
Yeah. I do feel that way. It's been really exciting, kind of building this record from when it was just an idea, and then until now. And the cool thing about the songs, well, songs in general, is that they take on a life of their own. I mean, for once they leave you, then everyone has their own experience with them, and I think of them as a conversation between myself and the listener, and I've felt that way about musicians and songs that I've liked. And so now they're out there, ready to engage people, and yeah, it's nice to have that. It's nice to have that feeling, and especially because I feel like the characters that I've that the songs are based around, and the theme that this record has taken on a life of its own. Even since I've sort of finished the songs, like the ideas that I thought about have kind of grown even more to just like a song or a feeling from a song. Or a song doesn't really mean anything, I think, until someone has a place and an experience to put with it. So now all those things are growing.
You mentioned theme. I mean, I feel like a bit of a nostalgia sort of vibe when I listen to it, like the feeling of nostalgia or lost love or love of the past or something. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of themes were you thinking about?
All those.
Yeah? Okay.
Those ones
So those came
specifically.
through?
Yeah, it's that. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of it, yeah, well, if I go song by song, it is a lot of that, just sort of kind of reconciling a lot of things, and you know, I have them, you know, they're kind of running down this. There's an overpass here, since this one, I won't tell you where it's at exactly. It's in the land of this record, but they're running across that, you know, and I feel like they're sort of running from the hands of time into this sort of portal into the future, and where do they go to next? I don't know. Sharon might be like crying a little bit. He's like laughing, and he's chasing after her, you know. So there's those kind of feelings. All of it's summed up there, you know.
I love how that brings it all together. The artwork is really great. This is great.
My friend Davin from high school, I grew up with him, and he shot this film.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you feel like you have a lot of friends that you've kept from that time of your life?
No.
No.
No, he's the
He's
only
the only one.
He's the only one. He's the only friend I had. But it was really cool because we grew up skateboarding together.
Yeah.
And like shooting skateboard videos together and things. And so when I called him up and asked him if he wanted to help on this, I always introduce him. It's kind of embarrassing. I always introduce him as like my oldest friend in the world.
Yeah.
He's probably heard that a million times every time I tell someone, like, he's my oldest friend.
Yeah,
I've had
right.
for so long. And he's like, yeah.
It's almost like a proud thing.
It is, yeah. Well, 'cause, like, it's so
yeah.
exciting when you live through all these experiences with someone, and that also, you know, knowing that, that you know, that we've experienced a lot of things together, and so he's part of the record as well too. His name's Davin Sanchez.
And it's also when you have a friend that long or that old, they know things about you that people will never know.
That you don't want them to know.
Yeah, or that you're like, I don't want this out.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Definitely,
It's one of
there's
those.
that going on. Which let's not go down that road.
Okay, we won't go there either.
Yeah.
So, but you did produce this album with some other folks. Sometimes
did.
you self-produce. This was a little bit different. You produced it with alongside of some other people. How
Yeah.
did they add sonically or musically? How did they add to it?
Well, yeah, I worked on it with Peter Matthew Bauer, and he was in a band called The Walkmen, and then Nick Stumpf, who was from a band called The French Kicks, and I've been a fan of their music for a long time. And so it started off, I started talking with Pete about the songs, and he kind of helped me narrow down some of the like textures, because I was throwing a bunch of stuff at them and kind of just like weeding out some of the sounds that I was putting into it. And I think it made them have a little bit more of an impact, a punch to them. And then Nick was originally going to be engineering and then doing drums on a lot of it, which he did. He did all the drums on the record. And so, but he was really influential in sort of the creative processes, decision making along the way. So yeah, and it was cool. It was like a collaboration in a sense in that way.
You've been an independent artist for, your career, really. I mean, what's it been like to sort of be so involved in every aspect of your career in terms of like the business side of things too?
The business side of
Yeah.
stuff? Oh man, I don't know. I definitely never planned on making a business out of music.
Yeah.
That's sort of like a side effect,
Huh.
of making, of it all. I've just enjoyed writing songs and then like going to weird bars with mermaids in them, and then having my friends take pictures of kids running across overpasses, and then
Yeah.
scoring the whole soundtrack to that. So
You get creative
yeah.
control though. Which
Yeah,
is good.
yeah.
It's nice.
I definitely. The cool thing about it is, I definitely have been lucky enough to have the opportunity to sort of create these ideas, and then make a world that they can exist and live in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty fun, and I've gotten to, I've known a lot of really great musicians throughout the years, and gotten to work with some really amazing ones, and it's been really inspiring. And yeah, I don't know. It's been a really cool thing, and so here we are.
Yeah.
2018, that's right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how time flies so fast.
Yeah.
Jack Johnson's someone that you've collaborated with,
Yep.
you've known for quite some time. You mentioned people that you've worked with.
Yeah.
What's it like to, work with him, or what have you learned from him, or, maybe you learned from one another?
He taught me to keep it real mellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're keeping that up.
I'm keeping it up. I'm not normally this mellow, but he called me up like recently. He's like, "I love the new record, Matt, but you got to keep it mellow."
Keep it mellow.
No, yeah, he's been really a great person to work with throughout the years, and before that, I had gotten really a lot of help when I did my first record and some EPs from Tom Dumont from No Doubt.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person that he heard one of my 4-track records that I was making when I was young, and he liked it, and so I originally just went and it was him and I. We kind of just wrote. Well, he would ask me over to his place, and we'd record a song. And I had a number of songs, but I took it as an exercise or a challenge before I went over there every time to write a new song. So I'd come back within the next week, and then we wouldn't be finished with that song, but I have a new song to write. So every time I came back, they just kept stacking up until basically I had more than enough for a record and more than enough for a lot of stuff. And that's kind of how I started getting going with it. And then I met Jack shortly, a couple years after that, and we toured around a bunch of the country and stuff in Europe and things like that.
You've toured with quite a bit of people.
Yeah.
Death Cab.
I have.
Ryan
yeah.
Adams, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those people, yeah.
Those people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you are going to go on tour.
I'm about to go on my own tour, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you set up to go on tour? I mean, you'll be playing content, songs from here, but you have so many albums now at this point, 15 years and counting.
Yeah.
So much music.
I just wait till people scream stuff at me.
Really?
Violently.
Yeah.
And then
Play
I say, I got to
this.
do that one.
Or else.
Yeah,
Are you good
pretty
at
much.
playing stuff on the fly? Do you remember your lyrics?
I do, but my band doesn't.
Oh, you're like,
I'll
what are
play
you guys
songs.
doing?
All right,
Smack
guys,
it.
in the key of A, let's go.
And they're able to
No.
rise to the occasion? No.
No.
So
They
you just
back-
go with it.
All of a sudden, they just start exiting the stage. They're like, guys, all right.
You're up there by yourself.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to do that. Yeah, occasionally too, if I forget, sometimes people come to me and they'll ask for a song, or they are too scared to ask for a song, or they know that I probably wouldn't remember it. But then they ask me after the show, they say, hey, I wish you would have played this one, and so I'll sit down with them and play that one, if I can remember it. And I'll try it either way. I'll get halfway through, and then most of the time works out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost were a professional skateboarder. I mean, really.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was going to be your life.
Yeah, it was.
And-
It was when I was young. That was my life goal. I wanted to do it. I wanted to jump down handrails and do all that stuff. Hurt myself for a living.
Yeah. And
And
you did
do
hurt
cool
yourself,
stuff. I did,
though.
yeah, I
And
did
it
pretty
kind
bad.
of, it basically, you couldn't pursue it full time.
I couldn't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was laid up for 2 years.
Yeah.
I broke this leg here. It's got a big old scar there, pretty bad. And so what happened was it was healing up, and I went to. During that time, I thought it was only going to be about 3 months or so. So I was like, I'll be back skating again.
Huh.
And at the time, all my friends were they were sponsored and going pro and things. And a lot of them now are still they do that, and I'm really proud of them because I'm just they do crazy stuff. And at the time, you kind of take it for granted, the stuff that you can do, your body can do. Now I just step on a skateboard and I roll around, just freaked out. I mean, I still do it because it's fun. But anyways, yeah, I was laid up for 3 months, and it took a year, and then they asked me, the doctor said you can step on it, it'll heal it up quicker if you start walking on it. And then I did, and they just re-broke that day.
Oh, man.
Just started cracking around in there, and so then I had to. I went back to the doctor. I was like, I think something's wrong with it. I think I don't know if it's working. And then and so he's like, no, it's definitely not broken again, but it was, and so they had to go in there, cut it open again, and put more stuff in there. So a long time. And during that time was when I started writing songs instead of riding skateboards.
Yeah. So do you remember the first song you wrote?
The first song I wrote was, I think it was about I don't know. What was it? I think it was something about making a deal with the devil or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, crossroads.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Something like that. I was into the mystique of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you were at a crossroads in your life.
I was,
at that
yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's what it
right.
was, yeah.
Because you were going one path, and then you went a whole different route in your life. So.
Totally. It was that.
And-
Now you just summed it up for me.
There you go. That's why I'm
knew.
here.
Yeah, that's what it was. Thank
That's
you.
why I'm moderating this chat.
I'm
so,
glad someone is.
Were there a lot of songs that didn't make it on this album?
This album?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a bunch. I wrote a bunch. And some of them I really like, but they'll find their way at some point. But yeah, there was a handful.
What's that process like for you? Are you sort of like always writing, or do you really just sit down and have like time where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and try to write this?
Yeah, I try to always be writing.
Yeah.
Over the last couple months or so, I kind of slowed down on the writing stuff, and then I put more time into seeing through a lot of like the visual stuff for this thing, like kind of making, writing out some of the visual components that I thought would tell the story with the stuff that I saw in my head when I was writing the songs and trying to really complete that picture. But it's easy because it was difficult. I had to like discipline myself to do that, because otherwise I'd be like, I'll write a new song, because it feels so good to write a new song and move on to the other stuff. But I feel like it's been really rewarding to really bring these characters even more into existence.
Do you think, I'm thinking of like, we were thinking about Bruce Springsteen earlier, how he has different characters that he kind of goes back to throughout his catalog. Do you feel like we'll see these characters again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good
Yeah,
to
totally.
know.
They might even form their own band. I don't know.
Okay. They'll be your opening act.
I think
right?
so.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Oh man. So when
it'll just like invert on itself.
Yeah.
Heads will be. Yeah.
How much just did California and place sort of influence this?
This California place?
Yeah. And the sense of place, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
California and the sense of place.
Well, I grew up in California, and so I think that, I mean, as much as I've traveled around and recorded things all over, like all over the world. The last full-length record I did was I recorded it in Scotland and in Glasgow. And I've always been a fan of like music from all over, and I try to bring that music into my own songs, wherever it may be, whether it's just from across the world. So, but I felt like that this record and all the places that California embodies, or like the spirit of it is kind of like everything kind of coming west and sort of settling there. And there is a classic sort of romanticism to it in the land of California, sort of this like land where all these magical things happen. But I was where it's always warm and sunny and people are surfing and things like that.
Yeah.
But I grew up there, and like Santa Rosa, or San Diego, or San Francisco, or Santa Maria, or San Clemente, all these, all the cities that line the coast of California, up and down it, and sort of growing up and having these memories in these places, and with people that I've known have these memories, or my own memories, and they sort of stick themselves into you. Those are the things, and then they shape who you are. Huh. So that's how California has played its role. And I remember driving, through the Grapevine on the 5 or on the 99, going up to my family in the Central Valley when I was a kid, and living in Northern California for a time myself, and going back and forth, lugging pianos back and forth and things like that, abandoning pianos, and so. Yeah, so that's how it all sort of plays into it.
Nice. Awesome.
Music and people and highways, cities.
Yeah, it's definitely a type of album that you can listen while getting in the car and getting on the road, except not in New York City, because we don't go anywhere in New York City. You're just stuck in traffic. But an open road.
Yeah. You can put in your headphones and walk around.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have some questions.
Walk in the park.
Walk in the Central Park. I could see that. You got to keep moving while listening to this album. It's awesome. All right, we have some questions from the crowd, so let's get to it. Who's first?
Hi, over here.
Hello.
So our first question is going to come from an online viewer. Jose would like to know, what's the craziest fan interaction you've ever had?
Craziest fan interaction? Oh, man. I don't know. I'd say my fans are pretty sweet, you know. So they're nothing's too crazy. I don't know. I probably don't remember the craziest one. I was like kidnapped in the back of a car, ended up in some random house somewhere, having a good time. I don't know. I don't know what the craziest thing was.
Do you find that you see a lot of fans, the same fans at your shows?
I do.
See familiar faces?
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, I do see some familiar faces there.
Nice.
I'll think of that one though. Gosh, I'll come back to it if you're still watching, Jose. I'll try to think of a crazy one because sometimes these things my synapses have to connect, and I'll tell you.
Well, you could think on it while we go to the next question.
Yeah.
So let's get to it.
Hi,
Hello.
thanks for being here. What was the most memorable concert that you've ever attended?
Ever attended?
Yeah.
Well, I will say, that I've ever attended. One of them was one that I played in. Actually, I did a concert that was for Donovan, and it was for the David Lynch Foundation in California at the El Rey. And I've been a big fan of Donovan for many years, and so he invited me to come sing a song with him, and it was the opening song. And so during that night, I got to hang out with David Lynch and Donovan, and the whole time I couldn't believe that it was really happening. And I got to, enjoy the whole show. And meanwhile, I was like, it was there for the Transcendental Meditation, the David Lynch Foundation. That's what it was for. So that was pretty memorable. I just feel like those people don't even really exist in real life to me. One comes out of the radio and one makes these wild visuals. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Thank you. That's a pretty cool memory to have.
It's a pretty cool memory, yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to sing on stage with Donovan. We sang
Yeah.
Sunshine Superman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. Well, thank you so much for coming by, Bill, today.
Yeah.
And thank you for your lovely questions. Give it up one more time. The album is out today. Santa Rosa Fangs. Matt Costa, everyone.
Thank you.